Welcome back to Into the Paradox, everyone. Tonight, we're venturing into some truly unsettling territory, a topic that's fascinated and frankly terrified me for years. The phenomenon of people vanishing without a trace in America's national parks. You know, these places are sanctuaries of natural beauty, but they also hold a profound, often terrifying mystery when someone simply disappears. To help us navigate this wilderness of unanswered questions, I've got an incredible panel with me. First, Martin, our resident folklore researcher, whose insights into the darker corners of human belief systems are always fascinating. Martin, great to have you.
Thanks, Peter. It's a topic that truly bridges the known and the unknown, and those liminal spaces are where my interests often lie.
Absolutely. Next up, we have Julie Parker, an investigative reporter who's covered her share of missing persons cases, both in and out of the parks. Julie, thanks for being here.
It's a privilege, Peter. These cases, especially in the parks, they really stick with you. The families, the sheer vacuum of information. It's a compelling but heartbreaking area to report on.
Indeed. And finally, someone who knows these environments intimately, Robert Stone, a seasoned park ranger. Robert, thank you for sharing your invaluable perspective with us.
Happy to be here, Peter. It's a part of the job we wish we didn't have, but it's a reality we face. Hopefully we can shed some light, or at least some understanding, on what truly happens out there.
So let's dive right in. Robert, from your perspective, working in these vast, untamed spaces, what are the most common, dare I say, prosaic reasons people go missing? Because I think our minds often jump straight to the extraordinary, but the reality is often far more tragic and simple, isn't it?
You've hit the nail on the head, Peter. While the headlines grab onto the mysterious, the vast majority of cases we encounter, and those that sadly remain unsolved, boil down to environmental factors. Exposure, falls, getting lost. It sounds simple, but the wilderness is incredibly unforgiving. A simple wrong turn, a sudden whiteout fog, an unexpected drop in temperature after sundown. These things can turn a pleasant hike into a life-threatening ordeal in a matter of hours.
I've covered cases where even experienced hikers, people who knew the terrain, got disoriented. One minute they're on a clearly marked trail, the next, a sudden storm rolls in. Visibility drops to zero, and they step off the path for just a moment. That moment can be fatal, and when search and rescue efforts begin, they're looking for a needle in a haystack, especially in dense forest or mountainous regions. It's incredibly difficult work.
It truly is. We're talking millions of acres of rugged terrain. Even with our best resources, canine units, helicopters, thermal imaging, if someone is off-trail, injured, or simply hidden by dense canopy, finding them is a monumental task. Hypothermia is a silent killer too. People underestimate how quickly your core body temperature can drop, even in seemingly mild conditions, especially at higher elevations or with unexpected rain.
It speaks to a deeper human vulnerability, doesn't it? That despite all our technology and preparation, nature still holds the ultimate power. It strips us of our perceived control, reminding us how fragile we are when taken out of our comfort zones. And historically, the lost in the woods narrative is one of the oldest fears in folklore.
That's a great point, Martin, and sometimes it's not even an accident, is it? Julie, you mentioned earlier that some disappearances might be voluntary.
Absolutely. It's a smaller percentage, but it happens. People seeking to disappear, either to start a new life or tragically by suicide. National parks offer a level of anonymity and isolation that makes it possible, and incredibly hard for investigators to distinguish from an accidental disappearance if there's no note or prior indication. It leaves families in an agonizing limbo, not knowing if their loved one is lost, deceased, or simply chose to vanish.
That's a chilling thought. But let's shift to something even darker, the idea of human or criminal causes. The parks are so vast, so isolated, it makes you wonder if they could be grounds for something more sinister. Julie, from a reporter's standpoint, what have you seen or heard about predatory individuals using parks for their own nefarious purposes?
It's a terrifying thought, but yes, it's a persistent theory, and in rare instances, a horrific reality. Parks attract millions of visitors, which offers a degree of anonymity. A perpetrator can blend in, select a target, a solo hiker, a camper, and then the sheer size of the park makes it an ideal location for evidence disposal. We've seen documented cases, like the Yosemite killer, Cary Stayner, who, while operating outside the immediate park boundaries, preyed on visitors drawn to the area. These cases are rare, statistically, but they embed a deep fear in the public consciousness.
Historically, wilderness has always been seen as a place outside of the law, a place where societal rules break down. Think of the highwaymen in old tales, or the hermits and outlaws who retreated to the forests. It taps into that primal fear of the other in the dark woods. The idea of a human predator blending into the landscape is a modern extension of those old fears.
From a ranger's perspective, while we're always vigilant, the vast majority of our interactions are positive. But we are trained to observe, to notice anything out of place. The isolation is a double-edged sword. It's why people come to the parks, but it also creates vulnerabilities. Any suspicious activity, any reports, we take them incredibly seriously. It's a small number, thankfully, but even one case is too many.
And Robert, speaking of rangers, there's a really dark, disturbing theory that sometimes surfaces. The idea of park rangers themselves being involved in disappearances or even cover-ups. What do you say to something like that?
Honestly, it's a conspiracy theory that really stings, because it undermines the trust we work so hard to build. The vast majority of park rangers are dedicated public servants, often putting their lives on the line for visitors, especially in search and rescue operations. The idea of abuse of authority for nefarious purposes is almost non-existent in terms of documented cases. And as for cover-ups, our mission is conservation and public safety. Concealing evidence of a disappearance runs entirely contrary to that and would only hinder recovery and justice. We're part of the solution, not the problem.
I can corroborate that, Robert. In my reporting, I've found rangers to be among the most committed and earnest individuals. While institutional negligence or poor search efforts can be scrutinized, the idea of deliberate, malicious involvement by the rangers themselves is usually unsupported by any credible evidence. It's often a desperate theory born from the lack of answers.
That's good to hear, and important to clarify. Now moving on to another category of threat, wildlife. It's easy to forget that these parks are wild, untamed ecosystems, and we are, after all, part of the food chain. Robert, how significant is the risk of predatory animal attacks in disappearances?
It's a factor, though statistically still quite rare compared to environmental accidents. But it does happen. Bears, both grizzlies and black bears, are powerful animals. While most encounters result in the bear fleeing, predatory attacks can occur, especially if a bear is habituated to humans, or if a mother perceives a threat to her cubs. If a body is consumed or dragged into a remote den, finding remains can be incredibly difficult, often impossible.
Mountain lions, or cougars, are another concern. They're elusive ambush predators, incredibly strong. Fatal attacks on humans are exceedingly rare, but their ability to take down much larger prey and cache the remains, bury them to return later, means a body could vanish without a trace. And then there's the general scavenging. Even if an animal didn't cause the death, scavengers like coyotes, vultures, even smaller mammals, can quickly disperse and dismantle human remains, making identification or even discovery nearly impossible after just a few days. The wilderness cleans itself, in a very brutal way.
And that ties into ancient fears, doesn't it? The idea of being taken by the beasts. Folklore from almost every culture has stories of people wandering into the woods and being devoured by wolves, bears, or other creatures. It's a fundamental primal fear we still carry, even if it's less common now. The wilderness is portrayed as having teeth, an entity that can consume you. It's the ultimate removal from the human world.
It absolutely is. And this brings us to the realm where things get less conventional. We've talked about the factual, the environmental, the criminal, the animal, but there's a small percentage of cases, ones that defy all logical explanation. Experienced hikers vanish in good weather, leaving behind strange anomalies. This is where figures like David Paulides and his Missing 411 research come in, popularizing theories that really stretch the imagination. Martin, let's go there. What are some of these more unconventional theories?
Yes, the unconventional is where the deepest mysteries reside. When the mundane explanations fail, the human mind reaches for something else. One popular theory, especially in regions like the Pacific Northwest, is cryptozoology, specifically the idea that an unknown large animal, Bigfoot, Sasquatch, could be responsible. In cases where clothing or shoes are found neatly removed and folded, or where victims appear to have been taken without a struggle, the theory suggests that these elusive hominids, if they exist, might be territorial, viewing humans as rivals or even prey, and are capable of snatching individuals and disappearing back into the deep wilderness without leaving conventional tracks.
So, Sasquatch as a kidnapper, that's wild. But I can see how, if all other explanations are exhausted, people might turn to such ideas.
As a reporter, it's frustrating when you hit that wall. Families are desperate for answers, and if the official investigations come up empty, they'll often explore every possibility, no matter how outlandish it seems to us. It's a testament to the pain of not knowing.
It's okay.
From our end, we follow the evidence, and we don't rule anything out initially, but we don't have a Bigfoot abduction protocol, if you know what I mean. We focus on search and rescue based on known parameters, but the inexplicable cases, they certainly weigh on you. They defy logic, and that's hard to reconcile with. Especially when the conditions were ideal and the person was experienced. Those are the ones that keep you up at night.
Indeed. And then we step even further into the realm of the paranormal and interdimensional. These theories gain traction when anomalies are particularly pronounced. Objects found miles from where they should be, bodies in inaccessible locations, or the complete lack of any trace whatsoever. Some suggest that certain hotspots in the parks, often areas with unique geological features like granite formations or magnetic anomalies, might host temporary dimensional portals. The idea being that a person simply walks through an opening into another reality, hence the utter lack of physical evidence or discernible trail.
Portals to another dimension, that's a leap, Martin. But the human mind does try to fill a void, doesn't it?
It does, Peter. And when the void is as profound as a missing person, anything becomes possible. And beyond portals, we have theories related to spirits and malevolent entities. Many national parks sit on land with long, often tragic human histories. Disappearances are sometimes attributed to Native American legends, entities tied to specific mountains or forests that claim intruders or trespassers, or the spirits of prior victims or historical figures that lure people to their deaths. The wilderness has always been a place for such stories, a canvas for the unknown, for spirits and fae folk.
So the land itself could be alive or cursed in a sense. That really plays into the paradox theme.
As a reporter, I have to ground myself in facts, but I've certainly heard these stories from people intimately involved in these cases. You hear the desperation in their voices, their willingness to consider anything when science and conventional investigation have failed them. It speaks to the limits of our understanding and how truly vulnerable we are to the unknown.
We operate within the realm of the tangible, the measurable. But I've been in these parks for decades. I've seen things that make you scratch your head, phenomena you can't quite explain. Strange lights, sounds, you attribute them to natural causes, to an overactive imagination in the quiet, dark wilderness. But when someone disappears and all the logical explanations fall short, a part of you deep down has to acknowledge the vastness of what we don't know about these places.
That's a powerful admission, Robert. So in conclusion, it seems the vast majority of missing persons cases in American national parks are eventually solved, usually pointing to accidents, exposure, or tragically suicide. But it's that small percentage, the ones where hikers seemingly vanish into thin air, often leaving behind strange anomalies like removed clothing, uncharacteristic behavior, or bodies found miles from where they logically should have been. Those are the cases that truly fuel the ongoing public fascination and speculation.
And for families, those are the cases that leave open wounds. The lack of closure is devastating. Reporting on it, you see the toll it takes, the endless questions, the hope that dwindles with each passing year. It's not just a mystery, it's a profound human tragedy.
It speaks to the enduring mystery of the wilderness itself. We try to tame it, to map it, to understand it, but ultimately nature remains the ultimate untamable force. And when it reclaims one of us without explanation, it reminds us of our place in the grand scheme, tiny, vulnerable, and always at the mercy of forces far greater than ourselves.
It's why we stress preparation, safety, and respect for the environment so much. But even with all that, the parks are wild places. They demand respect, and sometimes even that isn't enough. We continue our work, we continue to search, and we hope that for every unsolved mystery there's a lesson learned that can prevent another.
A truly sobering thought. For many, the mystery isn't just about the where or the how, but the terrifying realization that even in designated, protected wilderness, nature remains the ultimate, untamable force. Martin, Julie, Robert, thank you all so much for this incredibly insightful and at times chilling discussion. And to our listeners, thank you for joining us on this journey into the paradox. Stay safe out there and remember to always respect the power of the wild. Until next time, keep questioning everything.